looking at the Habs and their rebuild and who they have on their roster right now, they just drafted Yuri Slavkovsky, Nick Suzuki, and Cole Caulfield leading the charge right now. And, with a little bit of an eye towards the future here, which team would you rather be, Lepore? The Montreal Canadiens or the Ottawa Senators?
Ooh. Two cities only 2 hours apart. Let's talk about these two. My immediate answer is the Senators, just because they're further ahead. And we talked about that top six, and they're all locked up. Like, people sometimes compare these teams, like who's got a better future and who's this and who's that. And I'll try my best to look at it and say, okay, well, where's one team at and where's the other team essentially trying to get to? And usually it's, well, where that team is right now. So if you look at the Sens top six, how these guys are locked up, if they can lock in DeBrincat, I mean, I don't want to go as far as say like you can't get much better than that, but in terms of a long-term thing, I wanted to go back and see sort of the history of NHL contracts, at least post-lockout, and when a team could look and say, you know what, we're going to be competitive for the next X amount of years. I remember seeing an interview, I think it was on when they did the HBO thing on the Capitals. And I forget who said it, but they were talking about Washington. And they gave out all those crazy contracts. Like it was Ovechkin, it was Green, it was Semin, it was Backstrom. And whoever it was said, I've guaranteed us competitiveness, at least for the next X amount of years. And I look at that Sens top six, and hockey's a funny sport. Teams get good and get bad in a hurry. But if you're looking at that Sens top six, and if they can sign DeBrincat, at the end of the day, I mean, they've essentially guaranteed competitiveness. Like that team will be fighting for a playoff spot, and most of those players aren't even in their prime yet. So I would say that, really at the end of the day, like what bad could happen? Like how bad could it be? I don't think it could be that bad. So the fact that the Senators, in my opinion anyway, have that locked up for you can say like the long-term future, really, if they do like get DeBrincat locked down. Like Drew's got his 3 years left, but I mean, again, like you said, he's getting older, and like where you ranked him in that top 12. But my take is the Sens, because I think if we looked at the Habs and their kids and where they could be in 5 years as a team, essentially they're trying to be, as far as the forwards go anyway, they're trying to be Ottawa. Like if we looked at the Montreal Canadiens best young players and said, okay, we asked Habs fans, where do you expect these guys to be in 3, 4, 5 years? There'd probably be comparables to those 6 guys on the Sens. So at the end of the day, well, I'd rather be the Sens if it is right now, because these guys are good, these guys are young, and these guys are locked up. So I think Pierre Dorion has done a great job of solidifying this team as a competitive team for the distant future. And you don't say that too often. I'm not going to go as far as say like I picture them as a contender, but they're going to be competitive. The Ottawa Senators, barring crazy health stuff, are not going to be bad for the next little while. So sticking to the hometown team, man, going the Ottawa Senators.
So I would absolutely rather be the Ottawa Senators at this point. And the one thing that I will point to is looking at the Habs cap sheet. It is not great. Like some
underrated,
of these contracts,
underrated bad, eh?
It's pretty bad, man. Brendan Gallagher is on the books for 5 more years at $6.5 million. Josh Anderson on the books for 5 more years at $5.5 million.
Yeah.
Carey Price is on the books for 4 more years at $10.5 million.
Holy shit.
Like, I know that they could put him on long-term injured reserve and all that stuff, but my goodness, going down the list here. Okay, Michael Matheson is now their highest paid defenseman, $4.875 million over the next 4 years. Not terrible. Who else here? Christian Dvorak, Lepore, 3 more years at a shade under $4.5 million. Like, you're paying a guy who's like, Christian Dvorak. Okay, remember they picked him up last year in that trade.
Mm.
You know, they bring in a new centerman. They're like, this guy's going to be good. He lit it up with Marner, you know, in the OHL for the London Knights, and hopefully he can rediscover his offensive touch after, you know, he was kind of okay in Arizona. But now Christian Dvorak, I mean, is he a top 6 forward on a good team? I don't think he is.
Yeah, I don't think so.
And you're paying that guy a shade under $4.5 million for the next 3 years. So you go down their cap sheet, man, it's not great. And that's why I'd rather be Ottawa, because I'm guaranteed to be competitive, as you said, for at least, you know, you would think the next 5 years based on all the guys they have locked up in that top 6. And, you know, it remains to be seen what's going to happen with DeBrincat. But I just think Ottawa has better players. They have a better cap situation. The one silver lining for the Habs is that they could potentially get Connor Bedard. Now, they have to win the lottery. They have to be really bad this year. But that's the one silver lining. Like, if they're able to land Connor Bedard, that is a franchise-altering player.
Yeah, that
like,
changes
we're talking
everything. Yeah.
McDavid, Austin Matthews, Nathan McKinnon here. Like, this is a superstar-level player. So, but again, you can't be going to bed every night and being like, well, our entire future is based on landing Connor Bedard in the draft.
Yeah.
You know, they just got the number 1 pick and took Juraj Slafkovsky, who I think is going to be a good player, but I mean, he is nowhere near the superstar upside as Connor Bedard. I think most hockey fans would agree. So, yeah, right now, and with an eye on the future, I think it's easily the Ottawa Senators.
Yeah, I'm going to pump my tires a little bit. I remember a lot of people screaming at me when Josh Anderson signed that deal because I said it was a shitty fucking signing. And everyone's like, oh, he's a good player. He scores goals, this and that. I said, yeah, he is a good player. He's an effective player. And he's the type of player I always say when he's on the ice, you have to keep your eye on him. But a 7-year deal was preposterous. Preposterous. And look at it now, man. Montreal would blast that into the sun if they could. And now here they are going through a rebuild and they have that on the board. Like, who's taking that one? The big thing with these guys and dumping these bad salaries is not typically the amount of money, it's the term. If Anderson had 2 years left, they could probably get rid of him, like find a taker. We don't know, even a bad team, you don't know where you're going to be in 5 years. You might be competitive. Well, you're not going to trade for Josh Anderson to get to the cap floor. Maybe if in 3, 4, 5 years we're trying to be competitive, we may still have this guy on the books. Yeah, it's a bad one, man.
Yeah, that, like you said, the Habs very underrated, like terrible cap sheet right now. And there's things that they can do. There's moves that they can make. And I actually like what Kent Hughes has done so far since he's been running the Montreal Canadiens. But that team still has a lot of work to do, man. They got to sort some things out.